Okay, I'm getting paused. Maybe the connection is weak. If you get a chance to look at all the previous 6 breath explorations, you will find most of the exploration experienced from a more natural environment by observing or understanding the environment here. There's an organization, Hari Om Lewis, yeah, morning. By understanding and having a sense of acceptance of what's happening here, not only anatomically understanding, but also understanding from a sense of moment to moment. What is happening today? What's happening now? And is there a sense of accepting how the breath feels now through my senses? How are my senses feeling, as in the eyes, the ears, the skin? And simultaneously also understanding the pulsation of the body, not from only an anatomical view, but also how the body is feeling that morning or that evening or wherever, whenever you are. And with that information, can I allow that information to happen? Have a sense of curiosity what that's happening, and knowing that these are the variations that can happen in this body. So what I would like to explore for the next few days, as today is Monday, I may get my ticket out, so they need to cut this. I have a blood test on Thursday, and then they may let me go back home on Friday, I believe. So for the next 4 days, could we explore a very soft and gentle pulsation of certain areas which could be related to the breath anatomically or physiologically, or even just from the connection that your mind may have to that region or that part of your body. I'm going to suggest different pulsations that we could do through our hands or directly by moving certain parts of the spine. And most of the pulsation that we may go through are something that I would recommend as going through very gently. I'm doing this forward bend for quite some time. We could do something, we could approach that pulsation in a very gentle manner, so that it's not as if we are pushing this form and shape into the body, but rather in a very gentle way we are seeing if this movement that we may have can bring out something which is naturally there in or within the body. Okay, so it's not like we are trying to stretch or concentrically or centrically trying to create something new with this environment, but rather by this gentle, very subtle movement or a very passive stretch or an isometric contraction, whatever it may be, can we bring out what's happening there naturally. So just pulsating but not poking or pushing. That's what I mean. So let's begin this class today by first sensing and feeling how does the body feel today. That part which we have been doing for the last 6 explorations, where we are checking the climate of the body. So I choose to sit here in a cross-legged position with one leg higher than the other. You may choose to be in a supine position or even in a prone position. In fact, lying down is a very good idea, as you are not firing your muscles to keep your spine erect or hold on to the body. But I choose to sit today because I had done my practice for a while and I feel my muscles are ready to hold on to my body to a certain extent. If I feel that I need to lie down, I'm going to lie down anyway. So feel free to explore these information from where you are. Okay, so I'm not forcing you to have any idea, general idea. There's no such thing as a general idea. Everyone is different in respective ways. So I choose to close my eyes so that I can soften the dominance of the eyes. So I'm visually relaxing that sense. Let's begin sensing, how does the abdomen feel this morning, or if you are in a different time of the day, how does the abdomen feel? And then I'm moving into the lower region of the abdomen, which is the pelvic cavity. And even further down into the pelvic floor. Let's move into the left side of the leg, the upper portion of your leg. And feeling the left knee. And sensing the lower legs. Let's move into the right side, the right upper leg. The right knee. The right lower leg. Now let's take a break from sensing the legs and maybe move into the breath slightly. Now I would suggest us taking like a sighing kind of breath, to sigh, to go. If there's any kind of residue of any kind of tension while sensing the body, if you're holding your breath, or if there's any kind of nervousness about sensing the body, if we can let go of that nervousness by just sighing. And see if that aids in encouraging us to be in a more natural environment. So that sensing doesn't become like an ordeal, like as if you're a watchman, you're looking or inspecting, but rather just sensing is keeping the mind open to whatever that is there. So you're not inspecting to get any particular information, and if you don't get anything, it's Nothing good or bad about that. So there should not be any build of tension whilst trying to avoid any kind of tension while sensing. Let's move into the diaphragm. And move into the mid portion of your lungs. Moving into the shoulders. Let's move into the left upper arm. Left elbows. And then the left forearm. Let's move into the right upper arm. Right elbow. Right lower arms. And move into the neck. And moving into the front of the head. Into the crown of the head. And then into the back of the head. And now here, whilst we are in this region at the back of the head, can you sense how it feels to be at the back of the head? It's as if like you're moving away from the busyness or the happenings at the front to the observing, content, or the landscape or the support behind. And then from here, gently open our eyes. And feel free to take this little sighs. At times there's this Of course, I'm purposely making this sound so that you can hear, but feel free to make this little sighs where you can just renew, or even if you need to stretch your body a little bit and sense in that way. Okay, now can we move into understanding the diaphragm, which is like a dome. So you have the dome of the diaphragm attached to the xiphiod process here, and then coming down to the front ribs. So we can even use our fingers to pulsate, just to feel. So let's not poke in too much, so just to feel for the sternum, ribs. Feel this form of the diaphragm, or the ribs, what we are feeling. Back as far as you can. To the diaphragm in a dome. So it's actually, so you have the, I'm getting cut, but back. So we have a double parachute. Don't know if there's something like that, a double parachute. And as we breathe in, this dome is going. I'm sorry, we got disconnected. It's just poor connection, because there are many people in this hotel in quarantine, and I'm very sure everybody is on using the internet. So we have this double dome form, and as we breathe in, it flattens very slightly, unless if we are doing techniques of pranayama, we're doing deep breathing, we're kind of pushing the diaphragm further down. But if this in a natural environment, as we are moving, we're taking a shower, we're bending and cooking and doing all these different movements, the diaphragm is just lightly flattening and coming back up into the dome shape. Very, very light and gentle pulsation, I would say, of the diaphragm. Okay, of course in another day we can understand this layers of diaphragm, starting from the cranial diaphragm here, and then the clavicular, and then the thoracic and the pelvic floor. But for today it was just pulsating, just to feel this diaphragmic region. Now what could happen at times is that many times when we breathe in, when I say many times, it could not be you, it's not generalizing. What could happen is that the xiphiod process here, the bottom of the sternum, we may have a tendency, due to habitual sitting, or just different habits that we have with our body, that when we breathe in the bottom of the sternum, we kind of pull the bottom of the sternum in rather than releasing the xiphiod process when we breathe in. There is a tendency of shrinking or pulling in when we breathe in of the xiphiod process. So what we're trying to explore today is to free the xiphiod process, so that this movement of the shape movement of the diaphragm can happen freely, and see if that's a possibility. So we're going to try to pulsate the diaphragm here. If you could feel that's your xiphoid process there with your fingers, and then when we go down, you have the ribs opening up to the sides that way. So if we can put our fingers there, and as we breathe in, see if we are pulling the bottom sternum in, like as if you're flexing the spine. There could be a tendency where we have that tight pectoral muscles in the front of the body that creates this rounding of the scapula, what we call as a rounding of the shoulders, where you close the clavicular region, that may contribute to, as you breathe in, it may contribute to pulling the sternum in and back. So what we're trying to do is to avoid that, so that the diaphragm can move freely within the context of its natural movement. So it's as if like when you go paragliding. Now we have to imagine, if we have not done that before, we're trying to open up the diaphragm, and right underneath the diaphragm, mostly on the right side, you have the liver. So if we could allow the liver to be heavy. Now how do I do that? How do I allow do I even allow? How does that happen to make the liver happy? Not happy, heavy. You want the liver to be happy also. No, I'm not high on anything. I'm just high on the breath. You breathe and find that sense of heaviness here in the abdomen. So we're not pulling everything up that way, as at times that we are thought to do pranayama, by lifting and pulling everything up, especially the liver gets pulled up into the diaphragm, that when we want to breathe in, this process of freeing the diaphragm may be something challenging as we try to pull everything upwards, rather versus having a fair length on the trunk, so you're not pulling and lifting up, not demanding, but rather allowing the liver to be heavy, just offering the liver and behind the gallbladder and the gut, let it become heavy towards the cradle of the pelvis. So you imagine that the two hip bones is like a cradle holding the gut, the stomach on your left, and then you have the liver, and behind and underneath you have your bladder. Let them be heavy. And now if you can sense, once the organs in this cavity, once they're heavy, is there any freedom in the diaphragm? And if you can't sense this, then that's absolutely fine. There's no need of imitating or creating this movement. Just take time to allow the abdominal organs to become heavy, and offer these organs here in the abdominal cavity into the pelvic floor. And know that the pelvic floor, the frame and the organization in the pelvic floor has the courage and the mechanism to hold the abdominal organs. And imagine that the abdominal organs, we can talk about this word, that it's like you paragliding so that the organs are heavy, pulling down, and the diaphragm is like the open canvas of the parachute. So there's some freedom here for the diaphragm to open up in that dome shape. And we can continue, if you can keep even this exploration for a while. And even end here with this exploration of keeping the abdominal organs heavy to free the diaphragm without, as we breathe in and out, without pulling the xiphiod process in. Now I would like to move into another segment of now pulsating, creating a movement of as if we are trying to fold the bottom, the inferior region of the lung. We're trying to as if fold it over the liver. If you imagine the liver, now if you don't know where it is, I don't have a picture of it to show it to you, but if you get a chance to look at it, you'll see most of it is on the right side. So you can imagine as if you are folding over the liver as you breathe out, and as you breathe in, you're freeing. So what I would like you to do is to use your fingers to very gently pulsate this lower ribs. Keep your fingers slightly spread open. So that's going to be like dotted lines from where we can fold. Let's breathe out first. Breathe in. And as we breathe out, fold line to define the area in between the diaphragm and the liver. And as we breathe in, a very light extension, not a full extension. Breathe out, very light flexion. Breathe in. And breathe out. And we breathe in. Now, please continue this in your own rhythm so it's more natural to your body. So the movement can come from your body-mind relationship. For me, I think closing my eyes is a good option. And if you're lying down, it could be a very gentle movement of the coccyx towards the shoulders, as if you're drawing the sternum and the pubis lightly towards each other. And this would be my last cycle. And I'm going to free my hands on my knees. And have that sense of heaviness in the abdomen. And see if there's any freedom that comes in this region where the xiphiod process is located. And if you could sense the freedom around the anterior and the posterior dome shape of the diaphragm. Just being curious of every breath, as every breath is unique. And you can slowly, if you would like to continue, you could disconnect the life. I would like to open the eyes, and my body feels like my body feels that it wants to lie down and then continue, which is what I'm going to do right now, because that's how it feels like. And feel free to end. If you feel that you are already in the frontal lobe of your brain, you need to get up and start moving and do what you need to do. If you slightly more the back brain, continue. And maybe some of you, it's night there, you could just lullaby this whole experience into a beautiful sleep. Till I meet you tomorrow, lovely people. Keep well. Love you all. Om.